But my question is, the alignment part of me, I probably just block. That's my question, is how am I blocking the answers?
Well, blocking, this is, we've already had the conversation. Did you hear it?
Yes.
because that's like setting your radio dial to a station you don't want to hear and claiming that you're blocking the station you do want to hear. And we say, well, it's pretty obvious you're blocking it by not tuning to the frequency that you want to hear. So then the question is, well, how do I tune to the frequency? And the answer really is go general. So we'll demonstrate this together. So what is it? What answer are you looking for that feels blocked?
Okay. I'm an energy worker, and the energy I specifically like to use is called Reiki, but now that I've been doing it for so long, there's everybody else saying, well, this is this energy, and that's that energy, and this is this. And I feel at this point that it's all the same, right? There's not a specific, I do Reiki, I do whatever, this kind. I mean, when I'm working with somebody energetically, it's just source, right?
It is source, and it is, when you're working with someone, they're already summoning the energy.
Right.
And so sometimes if it feels like the energy is blocked, it only means they've come to you because something is out of whack and they're wanting your influence to set it into a more allowing state. So, but when you say blocking, what specifically do you mean?
I guess trusting that that I trust my own answer, that I believe that when I'm opened up to channel any kind of energy work, that I believe that there isn't a difference anymore. I believe.
Well, it doesn't matter what you call it, you see. And
exactly.
When we talk about allowing, so let's say as you often do, that you've meditated, and because you've been working with this energy for a while, you know what it feels like. You can feel when it's flowing. You can feel when it's flowing to you and through you, and you can feel when whoever you're working with is allowing it to flow further. In other words, you've had enough experience with this that you viscerally know what the feeling of energy flowing feels like, don't you?
Yes.
So, don't you?
Yes.
So when it feels like it's not flowing for whatever reason, rather than jumping to the conclusion that something is wrong, just remind yourself that that's what this whole process is about. It's about allowing the energy to flow, and trying to get energy to flow is counterproductive to allowing energy to flow. So when you're working with another person, there's more than you involved in this process. Right. You can't allow for someone else. You can only allow the energy to flow, and then in your knowing of it, maybe you can influence them to allow it to flow. But what's interesting is that as you're questioning, now you're not allowing. So and you can feel that in the moment. And so then you just try harder. That's what we were teasing about. You begin affirming. Well, I'm an energy worker, and my energy is this different name of energy, and you're right, it doesn't matter what you call it, because source is not delivering energy in categories.
Right, exactly. But different frequencies, though, no?
Well, but the frequency is about the resistance or not. In other words, the higher the frequency, the less the resistance. The lower the frequency, the more the resistance. And so source is always at a very high frequency. And when you tap into it, you receive it at your ability to receive it, you see. But you're not the only participant in this. So your greatest work when you're interacting with another, first of all, you're right on something really important. You cannot be in a state of self-doubt and be of any value to anyone else.
Right.
You just can't.
Right.
So you got to be tuned in. And so if we were standing in your physical shoes, before we began a process with anyone, we would recount to ourselves all of the lovely times that we are certain that energy has been flowing. And if you're not in a good state, don't try to flow it. In other words, this isn't something like a college degree that once you've got it is yours forevermore. It either is it or it isn't in the moment, you see. So the first thing we would be aware of is how we're feeling. And the better you feel, then the more value you have to someone else. But then the next thing is, where are they? Well, often they're not in that good of a place because they're dealing with some challenge that they're wanting you to help them with. So your magic for them, and of course it's not magic, is to not focus. Don't let them help you get focused on where they are, because if they can convince you where they are, now they've muddied up your ability to help them. So the less you know about where they are, the more you can believe in the energy flowing, the better it is for them and for you, you see. So now let's say that you're tuning in, you're allowing the energy to flow, and it doesn't feel like you want it to feel. Well, just stop and relax. Don't stop what you're doing, but focus for a moment and relax and acknowledge that there are more involved in this than just you, and that your role here is to softly influence their allowance. Because there's a tendency with energy workers, and it's why they argue over what to call it. Almost all believe that they're tapping into a source of energy, and that they are shining it or projecting it or asserting it, and that just like a fire hose with enough pressure, they can blow out the resistance.
Right.
And it isn't that way, because the more you try, the more it binds up. And so it really is about soft and gentle allowing. So your words are things like general words. General words. The more general you are in the words that you express, the more general you are. So you want to say things like, energy is really a nice thing because it knows what to do. And I don't have absolute knowledge about what's going on with this energy. I just feel it. And I know that we don't have to figure it out, because it holds the intelligence. That my work is just to allow it to flow. And I'm sort of an open vortex that it easily flows to. I'm someone who can just make energy a little more accessible to people. But it's not my job. I'm not going to thrust it into you. I'm just offering it for you to softly receive. And sometimes you receive it easily, and sometimes not so easily, but it's all okay, because it's always better. It always helps. It always helps, no matter what.
And that's kind of where I feel that I do, is that that's kind of where my problem is that I don't feel like I feel like people that they're like, oh, I'm seeing this happen and that's happening and all that. I just kind of feel like I'm just opening up, and whatever's happening is happening.
Well, here's the thing about
I don't always get a visual or anything.
Here's the thing about that. We've been saying for a long while, that the greatest advantage that someone else can offer to someone with resistance is something that's very soft and general. Because if you're looking specifically at specific things that are out of whack, and you are shining specific energy on those specific things that are out of whack, the belief factor in the person makes the difference. In other words, if they believe that you have the power to focus and heal them specifically, then the more specific you are, then the more they would receive the wellness that you are focusing. But if they're not there, then the more specifically you focus, the more resistant they become about it. And that's why we say the general approach is often the best approach.
Well, it's kind of like Esther is channeling Abraham. So she's able to get this, what's the word I'm trying to think of, but tell what they're thinking. She's getting this feeling, and she's able to interpret it.
But you see, here's the thing.
And that's what I don't have the interpretation thing.
But don't question yourself, because this is happening at an unconscious level with Esther. She's not watching the words pile up and then speaking them as they do. She's getting a block of thought, which is at an unconscious level, and at an unconscious level, she's finding the word equivalent. So the same thing is happening to you. You're getting a block of thought that you're translating through the energy that you're flowing. That's why this question follows so precisely on the question before, because the specifics of it don't matter. Right. The specifics of it don't matter. This source energy is this all-knowing, all-powerful general energy of well-being that you get to tap into at whatever level of readiness and allowingness that you are able. And don't second guess yourself.
That's it.
Don't try to interpret it into something more precise than it is valuable to be. Do you get what we're saying? In other words, if it was a value for you to precisely see something and precisely go after it, you would. But because it's of less value, it's of more value for you to know well-being. And you see, here's the best way to look at this. Every single person who is wanting an energy balancing, whether it's because their physical apparatus is out of whack, or they're emotionally out of whack, or they, for whatever reason that they're calling for it, every single one of them has been living contrast and has identified what isn't wanted and has put into the vortex what is wanted. And because they've had that sifting process, they have a robust vortex that is summoning to them all the time. So Source is on the case. Source is on the case. Well, if Source can't buck their resistant current, why do you think you should?
Right, I see.
So what you are for them is someone who is tangible, seeable, hearable, tasteable, touchable, smellable. Here you are as someone right there, vivid, who is in alignment with Source, who is providing this gentle, general energy of well-being that doesn't challenge the specifics that they're all balled up about.
Okay.
You see what we're getting at?
That helps so much. Yeah.
So you just be that and use words if they feel like, as they occur to you, but just know that that is the best that anyone can do for anyone. That's the best that anyone can do for anyone. When you believe in someone's well-being, you are of enormous value to them. And if you don't, stay away from them.
Yeah. Good. One more question. This question is just something I've always wondered. When you speak about when we pass, we go into bliss, and then we become Source. So is Source like the ocean? Is it like you go in, like when you want to talk with someone who passed?
No.
Is it like you just
No.
scoop up?
No.
Okay, good. It's just
no.
okay.
Source is focused in you when you're happy.
Right.
Source is not a nebulous mist, just waiting
but
for something uninteresting to happen. Source, you are the leading edge of Source. This is something that we so want you to hear. You, at your best, are Source. Hard to hear. Hard to hear.